Party.
Senator McKenzie.
Thank you very much. Well, it gives me great pleasure as Leader of the National Party in the Senate, as somebody that's sitting in the chamber that lives in the basin in Wodonga and was born in the Murray-Darling Basin. And I have watched my entire political career the impact of this basin plan on families, on food production, on the environment and our future sustainability. The minister stands up and talks a big game. This is the guy that had the great privilege to be the agriculture minister of this wonderful country. And he sells our agricultural industries, our regional communities down the river. The Labor government, if they really thought they had a track record on agriculture, food production and water policy, would have the guts to run a candidate in the seat of Farrer. But they don't, because they know that Albury, Griffith, Narrandera, Denny, everyone in the seat of Farrer knows the Labor Party has turned their back on them, their family's future, because they refuse to examine the rolling out of the Murray-Darling Basin Plan in a significant way. The minister also fails to, in his contribution, recognise that the 450 gigalitres was never part of the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, was never part of the original agreement. It was a side deal done by Tony Burke to get it through. And the 450 gigalitres, taking that out of the basin, was only to be done if you could prove there had been no social, economic or environmental damage. And to a man and woman in the National Party who represent and live in this community, we can take you, Minister, any day of the week to the communities that have been decimated as a result of this plan, to the agricultural industry screaming for responsibility about water, and to the many environmental sites that are being damaged by the way this environmental water holding is being used. The Barmah Choke screams it. The forest is literally dying because we are watering these trees too often for too long. So the very environmental outcomes you talk about aren't being achieved by the very base political approach to water policy that the Greens and the Labor Party pursue. It's all about the gigalitres. And anyone outside of the basin, it's gigababble, right? But if you say you're getting more gigalitres in Sydney, Adelaide, Melbourne or Brisbane, they think it must be a good thing. Well, it's not. More doesn't mean better, just like more sugar isn't better for you. Eating more fat isn't good for you. Taking more water out of the basin doesn't naturally mean you're going to have better environmental outcomes. We know that. We've done so many Senate inquiries over the last 10 years into this, where we've had scientist after scientist come in and say the level of fish stocks on the increase. We don't need to be talking gigalitres removal as the only way to assure river health, community health and industry health. That's the great farce of the politics that is played with the basin and basin communities by all sides of politics that don't live in it. And we're sick of it. We're absolutely sick of it. The Victorian Farmers Federation today has put out a release saying new analysis shows the basin water buybacks are sending Victorian agriculture broke and backwards. That's information the Labor Party doesn't want to hear. And the fact that the minister stands up and hasn't even had the respect to read the bill before the Senate today, because this isn't about holding a royal commission. This is not about holding a royal commission. This is about actually ensuring we can look into this right now. We know the Prime Minister doesn't want to actually look into this. We know the Labor Party doesn't want to have a deep dive into the impacts of the rollout of the Murray-Darling Basin Plan. So, as a responsible party of government, what we have put forward today, what the Shadow Minister for Water, Michael McCormack, has developed in consultation with others and that Senator Cadell brings before the Senate today, is a bill that brings a commission of inquiry forward, something that is time-limited and targeted, something the Senate today could vote to support and that from opposition we could actually see implemented. It is something we could do, not having to wait for the Labor Party to get their act together, because the Labor Party, Anthony Albanese and their partners, the Greens, have made it very, very clear how they're going to pursue water policy for basin communities. They're not just coming to fulfil the gigalitres required under the plan itself. They're coming for the 450, which was never part of the plan. And they're using water buybacks to get it. They don't care about the health of the river. They don't care about the health of our communities. And they do not care about the sustainability of our agriculture system. In government, we did fight hard to increase supply, fund better efficiency projects and embrace water policy that backed our regional communities and our farmers, who are key to the national prosperity of our country. These are the people we send our kids to school with, the men and women who get up every day and do more with less. But they are at breaking point. The Southern Connected Basin in particular has borne the brunt of state and federal government water policy, all in the name to save South Australian seats in Adelaide, but at what cost? The men and women who I have listened to personally, who have farmed this land for generations, are at breaking point. And having a government who arrogantly comes into this chamber and pretends that they give a shit. Sorry, pardon, that's very unparliamentary. I withdraw. Pretend that they care, because you don't. Because the great privilege of holding ministerial positions, of being the Prime Minister, is that you can make change. And instead you've chosen to come after the 450 gig and decimate our communities with water buybacks. The reason we want to see a commission of inquiry is because we think these communities deserve to have a say. They are absolutely over inquiry after inquiry. They have inquiry fatigue. They think that people genuinely are asking their view and their expertise on how we can use water, how we can have a better approach to policy. And yet what they see, they put submission in after submission, whether it's the rice growers, whether it's our dairy industry, whether it's our horticulture and cropping industry, or indeed the local councils and community groups that, you know, when you're looking at what Narrandera, a town in New South Wales, in a developed country like ours, this is their drinking water, Australia. This isn't from Africa. This isn't from some undeveloped country. That's from the basin community, and it is a direct result of a failure of water policy from this government.
Yes.
This government.
Minister.
Point of order, Acting Deputy President. Props are inconsistent with the standing orders.
If you could please remove the prop, Senator McKenzie. Yeah.
Use it as a prop, but this is what you're expecting.
Senator McKenzie, I apologise. I need to ask you to please not.
I won't drink the water like the Range residents have to do.
Senator McKenzie, I would ask you. I would like for you to complete your speech, but I need to ask you to remove it.
I will not hold it up as a prop. There's a lot about
Senator
this chamber
McKenzie,
that
could
they
I
do not.
please ask you to remove the bottle of water from your table? Yeah, and the attendants might assist you with that.
But that shows Australians that they're not just offended about what we say. They really don't want to know what's happening
Senator McKenzie,
outside.
would like you to finish your speech. If I could please ask you to put the bottle of water under your... Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything to assist the Senate.
I appreciate that.
But it's passing strange that they're offended by what I say, and now when I bring into the chamber just not the lived experience but the water that Australian citizens in New South Wales are expected to drink, you're offended to the point of shutting that down. I mean, honestly, is it any wonder people are fed up with the Labor Party and this government and the Greens who facilitate their abomination? That is the water that our citizens are drinking because of your policy decisions, and it's offensive to you, and it should be offensive to you. It's embarrassing and shameful to all of us. So the Commission of Inquiry is a term-limited examination of how we can use science better. We know we don't need to take more water from the basin to get the environmental outcomes we need. We know that. The science is clear. You don't want to hear it, but it's clear. So let's make the decision to pause the buybacks, to stop ripping and raping these communities of their water assets, and actually have a commission of inquiry. I commend this bill to the Senate. We have so much more to say on this, and it's unfortunate that this debate will be concluding. And when it does, I do seek to just adjourn. We want to be able to discuss this more when the private senator's time is able to come back. But in terms of basin communities, it says everything about this government that they do not want to hear from these communities. They're not running in the seat of Farah because they don't care. The Prime Minister promised that he would govern for all Australians. Well, that also means actually... sorry, there's a bit of chatter behind me. But that actually means when you have the opportunity to stand up and represent them, that you take that chance. But elbow, cooee elbow, by-election, you're nowhere to be seen. So for those Labor voters in the seat of Farah, if you care about the basin, as I know you do, if you actually appreciate the role of water in the sustainability of your communities, not just out in Griffith or Denny, but indeed, as you know, in Farah, it actually underpins your entire economic ecosystem, then you will be backing those candidates that want to see agriculture thrive, communities sustained and the environment flourish. And yes, we're hearing the Greens and the Labor Party screaming across the chamber that somehow we're out of touch. Well, I am happy for every single speech I've made on water policy in the nearly 15 years I've been in this place.
Thank you, Senator McKenzie. Your time has expired. Pursuant to the order agreed to on Monday, the time allotted for debate on the 13 bills has now expired. I will now put the questions on the remaining stages of these bills. I will begin with the Social Security and Other Legislation Amendment, Technical Changes No. 1, Bill 2026, starting with the request for an amendment moved by Senator Allman-Payne. The first question is that the request for an amendment on sheet 3733 be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Those against say no. The noes have it. Division required. Ring the bells for 4 minutes.